Hello and welcome back to Bookish, and today I'm here with a book review, and I'll be reviewing Transcript by Heimrad. If you follow Marc Nash's channel, you know that he also did a review of this book, that he read it, and that's where I found it and that's where I saw it. When I saw him describe it and talk about what the book was about and how it was structured, I immediately knew that I wanted to read it. It was an insta order from me, and I'm so glad that I got it. I'm so glad that I bought it and that I read it, because in my life of reading, I can't remember being more affected by a book than I was by Transcript. It's a brilliant work of art. It's not just a book to me, it is a brilliant work of art, and quite possibly the best thing I've ever read. What Bacher's done here in Transcript is he has used in an unflinching way the words of the perpetrators of the Holocaust to essentially reveal the evolution of the Holocaust as it took place in Germany and Austria and Eastern Europe. He has collected from source documents the words of Nazi leaders and camp guards and doctors and low-level bureaucrats and resistance fighters and even Hitler himself, and he has arranged their words, put them in specific order, and kind of collected and trimmed their words, never changing their words, but sometimes choosing phrases from their work that gives the most really visceral depiction of the Holocaust I've ever encountered. And by visceral here, I don't mean that it is a text that is soaked in the gruesome details of the Holocaust, but visceral in how it makes you feel and how it reveals the absolute horror of the Holocaust, and how everyday people in Germany and Austria could have done these things and viewed their work in the camps, in the railroad yards, in such a kind of mundane, everyday, workaday way. To me, the Transcript is note perfect. It's beautiful, it's unsettling, it's heartbreaking, it's uncomfortable. There were times in reading it where I dreaded turning the page because I knew, kind of what the next page would contain, and yet I was still incredibly moved by what I read. This Transcript itself is one of the works of a lifetime of Bacher that he spent researching and thinking about and creating works of art and what is called concrete poetry about the subject of the Holocaust. Bacher himself grew up in Austria during the years of World War II. He was an active member of the Hitler Youth in Austria. He joined the Nazi Party when he was at the age of 18. He lived close to a relatively small concentration death camp where more than 30,000 Jews and others were killed. He didn't hold any rank within the Nazi Party, and because of a physical disability, he was unable to do military service. So he wasn't in a position to do people harm, but he himself pointed out that him not being in a position to do people harm was more a matter of circumstance than a matter of choice. And I think he incredibly honestly puts himself alongside the people whose words, the everyday people whose words he quotes. He admits that he was caught up in the kind of collective movement in what he thought of as this kind of incredibly new spirited moment in the history of Germany and the world, and in some ways that if he'd been in a position to do harm, that he seems to feel like that he might have in fact have done harm himself, and he might have participated in these things. Transcript is just an incredibly direct look then at the evolution of the Holocaust in the words of mostly everyday people, but people whose names you would have heard of: Speer and Himmler and Hitler himself. So this is something I learned about in doing research on Bacher himself. This is a work of concrete poetry, which is essentially exactly what I described to you here. Taking the real words from documents and assembling something that has the effect of poetry, of creating an image, a feeling. Here in Transcript, each quote, each figure, each detail, each drawing, each handwritten thing has been uncovered by Bacher and others, and he's found in the work of others, and he's arranged and he's shaped those things. And I don't mean he shaped them to create meaning. He just truncates things and he mashes sometimes things together in ways to create the desired effect he has, and that effect is chilling, particularly when you remember that the same kind of banal and bureaucratic official language has been used in genocides that have taken place since. Think ethnic cleansing in terms of Bosnia. Think of the way in which the Hutu government in Rwanda got the Hutu people of Rwanda to essentially go out and kill their Tutsi neighbors by talking about it as being like community work or community service that they were supposed to do. And we see the most evil things possible reduced to the most basic, common, sanitized language you can imagine. So for me, this was an incredibly important book at a time when nationalism is again on the rise around the world, when political leaders like Boris Johnson and Donald Trump use the language of nationalism, use the language of ethnic and religious hate to build support for themselves, at a time in which the Nobel Prize for Literature was given to an Austrian writer who denies the genocide in Bosnia and supported the leader who perpetrated that crime. It seems incredibly important that this work of another Austrian writer, published in 1986, is out there. Let me encourage you to read Transcript. If you already know about the Holocaust, if you already know the history, this will give you an insight into it in a way that I don't think anything else I've ever read has. Anyway, look forward to your comments in the comment section below, and as always, thank you for watching.